All right, it's 7 p.m., Monday, the 8th day of October. This is our regular Board of Aldermen meeting, and I'd like to welcome everyone. We'll start off with any modifications to the agenda. Does anyone have anything to modify our agenda? I have something under new business. We have Lee Suplitov. Did I pronounce that correctly? Suplitov. I'll work better to get that right next time. Lee is here, and he is working diligently on mapping out our sewer systems and our utilities, so that when we get out there and start digging, we don't dig up things that we're not supposed to, so we know where everything's at. And Lee's going to give us an update later on in the meeting. Does anyone have anything else to update our agenda? Nothing. All right, I'll start with mayor comments. Just want to report that Locust Street, that project is moving right along. We got into some rock last week, and that rock was at a very bad location right where several utilities went through. But we did get through the rock, and we're moving forward, and hopefully we'll be done with the big equipment here shortly. Curbing is going very well. Those guys, I tease Mike Cheek because he hit that rock and it's taking him a little bit longer, and they're going so slow but sure and steady to get the curbing in that sooner or later there'll be a curb around the skid steer. But anyway, things are going very well there. The sales tax increase went into effect October 1st, and we'll start realizing income from that right around middle of December. Sometime around the first of the year, I envision we'll have some budget meetings and discussions of what to do with that money. We held a town hall meeting where we had a preference ballot, and I outlined several different projects that we might partake, and I have them listed here on the board. The scores, it's kind of like golf. The lower the score, the better. The lower the score shows the greater preference of our citizens of what we should partake in doing. Revitalizing our downtown area came in first. We talked about how to do that joint venture between private entities and the city. Building a new pound came in second. We figured we might be able to do that in-house at a low cost and build something that is economically feasible to maintain. Phase 2 of the Locust Street project, that's moving from 32 on Locust up to the high school and down Main Street to the east, came in third. We could do that the same way we've been doing the first phase of it, in-house and at a lower cost, hopefully, to our citizens. The North Neighborhood, that's an enhancement project to provide curbing and guttering to the people who live south and to the east of our new park. And coming in last is our green space trail. I think that would be a wonderful project to partake, particularly if we can get grants for it. Mr. Coltrane is here tonight to talk about those grants. Over a year ago, I came up with the idea, why don't we look at rebuilding our city? What can we do to do that? We have a bunch of money in our transportation fund saved up, but that's not going to cover everything. How can we generate more revenue? I went to Miss Debbie and said, how can we generate more revenue? And Debbie's response was to laugh at me. And I said, no, really? And she said, well, a sales tax would do that. And I asked her to get me some stats on how much revenue proposed sales tax would bring in. And she got me some numbers on a quarter cent, a third cent, and a half cent. And I got to thinking about it, and I figured, philosophically, if a proposed sales tax fails, it's because of a tax increase in general, the notion of it. So why not shoot for the stars? We prepared a proposed ordinance for a half-cent sales tax to put it on the ballot, and the Board of Aldermen, I believe, unanimously voted to put that on the ballot for the voters to decide. At the time, the notion was we do things, we build things. It's got a 3-year sunset. If we can show the citizens of Buffalo we've been responsible for that revenue and we've done things, then perhaps we can move forward and the voters would approve that a second time, and we can continue progress in our city. And that's why it's important to me to be able to do things with this revenue, to be able to move forward, to show our citizens that we are capable of taking care of ourselves. I believe one of the reasons that passed the ballots was we've already showed our citizens we're responsible. We were able to rebuild sidewalks on Locust Street. Maple Street. We were able to rebuild sidewalks on Main Street. So showing our citizens we care and that we can do things, I believe has paid dividends. I remember a few years ago I participated in the wheelchair race, and those same sidewalks that I was pushing a wheelchair and riding in a wheelchair being pushed are now navigable. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, and I look forward to accomplishing more in the future. That being said, I'll move over to citizen comments. Does anyone have anything to add to our meeting this evening? Sir?
I missed the town hall meeting where you guys did this thing with downtown, the new pound. Is now an appropriate time to actually make suggestions like that?
Sure.
Okay, well, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Jack Dill. I'm a land surveyor. I've been a land surveyor at the city of Springfield for 26 years. I'm the supervisor of survey operations there. I'm the investigator for the State Board for Architects, Engineers, and Land Surveyors, and I teach GPS for surveying and mapping at MSU. I've had my own business here for 22 years. I don't remember if I said that or not. Anyway, I'm also your land surveyor. I've been working on Locust Street all summer. And I wanted to at least make a few suggestions for what I think you might want to do next, or what you may be already doing, I'm not really sure. One of the things I wanted to suggest is that you make a comprehensive plan of some kind. I don't know what, I don't really know for sure what the Drury folks have been saying. They've got some nice maps, this looks great, and I think that's a great idea. It's a good way of communicating with people. But you need a comprehensive plan if you're going to do any sort of long-term public works projects. You have to be careful that you don't start something that doesn't connect with other things. So you have to have some kind of comprehensive plan. I think it probably ought to be general, sort of a general plan, but I think that everything needs to go in. Everything. Anything you can think of that you'd like to do, even if you don't get to do it. Not now, you can't do everything right now. But put everything in it. Everybody's got ideas that are valid, that they advocate, I'm sure, all the time. And those things should go in there. It needs to be general, though. You don't want to overdo it. Make a map of it. You know, a map is much better than just writing down what it is you're going to do. Being able to illustrate it, and like they did here. That's the best way. You can just look at it and see what it is and know what you're going to do. Then you can prioritize your projects based on whatever criteria is important to you. Safety, cost effectiveness, urgency of some kind, aesthetics. If you're just trying to make something look good, that's also worth something. You want to try to promote commerce wherever you can. I mean, if part of your comprehensive public works plan, rebuilding things, sewer lines, whatever, if you're trying to get in some sort of, you know, like we used to have Petit Jean and things like that, you want to take that into account. Revitalizing downtown, that has to do with commerce as much as anything. If you're trying to get commerce back downtown, then what are you going to do to do that? I think you should probably start from the ground up, not from the top down. The sidewalks that you guys have already put in, great. I mean, more around the square would probably do a lot. Maybe some street work there too. I'm not really sure. You guys know better than me. But use maps to make it visual. One of the things that we did at the city of Springfield to try to pass the quarter-cent sales tax this last time was put a map out in the lobby of City Hall with the Bush building and gave people push pins to just put a push pin where you think we ought to do something. And so when people come in and pay their water bills, they can see they can see your comprehensive plan. They can put a push pin in and say, this is, well, I'd like to do this. And they're relatively anonymous. They don't have to get judged. You can estimate the costs. If you will start planning, make a comprehensive plan, you can begin estimating costs. Locust Street should give you a pretty good idea now that we've done something. You actually have a real life idea of what it's gonna cost. Because things come up and you have to do them, you have to fix them. You can use a comprehensive plan, say a 10-year plan, that will outlive maybe all of your tenure on the board or on this, as mayor or whatever. But if you have a comprehensive plan, you have something that you can use to talk to people about. Well, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we intend to do. If they don't wanna do that, then they've got a chance to tell you. If you don't have any plan, how can they tell you they don't wanna do it? They don't even know you want to. So communicating with people is a pretty important thing. As far as actual specific projects, that's really up to you. But continuing Locust Street north seems like a pretty good idea. You know, Locust Street's the only arterial street that you have that runs all the way through town. 65 doesn't count, that's a state highway. But Locust goes all the way through town. What else does? Does anybody else, is there another one that I've missed? Hickory's a pretty big arterial street for us, too. Sort of a secondary arterial. Main Street, that's an east-west arterial. It goes all the way through town, from 65 anyway, all the way through town. It used to be a highway, it used to be Route A. So it goes all the way through town. So we've got Locust coming right up to meet Main, right there at the school. It seems like a no-brainer that that's where a person should work next. And that's, whether by plan, but whether by design or by luck, that's kind of where we're headed, one way or the other. We started with Locust, we've gotten almost 4,400 feet of that built. So, there's a couple of arterial streets there. Someday I'd like to see Locust go all the way through town, get Main all the way through town, maybe Mill from 65, or even beyond 65. Get those through. What that does, if that's a comprehensive plan, that's what I'm talking about. If you have those kinds of streets, you think, well, these are the ones that we should do first. These are major. Then you connect the side streets, the secondary arterials to those, and so on. And just like you were talking about that north neighborhood, how does that fit into any sort of overall plan that you have? The other reason for making a comprehensive plan of some sort is that if you start talking about doing all that to those streets, you've just increased the water that's going to flow into the main watershed of Buffalo, which is the Green Space Trail, which I wouldn't have called it that. I would say floodway control or something like that, because I think it's much more urgent than maybe a Greenwich Trail. But just like Locust Street, we're going to build a nice street, and we're going to take care of a lot of drainage, and we're going to build a sidewalk. It's not a sidewalk project, though. I've had so many citizens come up to me and go, and this is a big sidewalk project. Yeah, it's not really a sidewalk project, it's a street project. We're going to make this a nice street. People are going to come from all over the world to see this street. You should maybe put a toll booth in it. And the sidewalk thing, I hope that you will take some of the money from the half-cent sales tax and create a sustained sidewalk program. Connect together the pieces of sidewalk we have in various neighborhoods. Connect them together, the older sidewalks. Fix them first, of course. I can't believe that we're not sued almost constantly for people falling down on sidewalks. In Springfield, we have a lot of trouble with that. We'd much rather have spent the money to fix that sidewalk than to have paid out something. So we've still got a lot of sidewalks we can fix. Downtown is a great place to start. Radiate out from that. Or anywhere around any one of the schools and radiate out from that. I mean, again, if you have sort of an overall plan that you can talk to people about, it just helps a lot. I would communicate more with signs on these projects too. I think that that's really been a big deal for us in Springfield. You know, when we first started the quarter-cent sales tax, it was in the mid-'80s. We tried a half-cent sales tax first, it failed miserably. We had these huge, grandiose plans. People just said, yeah, I just don't think you're going to do that. Scaled those back, went back with a quarter-cent sales tax. And just like here, the people in Springfield showed a little bit of faith that we would actually not waste the money or wouldn't just sit on the money. We were going to build something, and we did. Sunset Street was one of them. It took 2 or 3 different quarter-cent sales tax passages to build that, all the way from Kansas Expressway to Fremont Street. The reason we built it was to alleviate traffic on Battlefield. It's been great. I use it all the time. I surveyed it myself. It's beautiful. I love it. I'd communicate more with signs though, I really would, even like on Locust Street. You know, go buy a sheet of plywood, cut it in half, paint it, write something on it. We all built this, or hope, change, Locust Street got changed, or something. Some kind of snappy slogan, you know, Jess can come up with something. No? Plan projects way ahead of time. Locust Street, I mean, we were really kind of under the gun to get that off the ground and get it going. We really should start much earlier planning a specific project. You know, we really started really late in the construction season with that project. If we were gonna do something like Locust 2 or whatever it is you got in mind, it doesn't really matter. Start as soon as possible planning that. So we've got plenty of time to think about the different problems that we're gonna encounter. That's about it. Plan some projects, plan them in phases so that you can complete a piece, just like we're doing with Locust. We can stop at 32. If we don't do another thing, it's done. That piece is done, and it's fine. If you go from 32 to Main Street, that piece is done. It's self-contained. So try to plan them in phases like that so that we can do that. But mainly, come up with some sort of overall plan. I think you'd be really happy with it once you get it in. And everybody can have input into it. And you can use it to not necessarily sell, but to inform people, to communicate with people, what it is you've got in mind. And then the next council that comes on, as that evolves, they will kind of have an idea of what it was you guys had in mind and what you were trying to accomplish. Anyway, that's my ideas.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Debbie, we do have a comprehensive plan, don't we?
Yeah, it's like 21 years old, I believe.
21 years old. Does anyone know what's in it? Does anyone know
For you.
if we've accomplished any of those goals?
I know if you don't have a comprehensive plan, your zoning is void.
Really?
So we have one, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, we have one, but it's old. All right, does anyone else have anything to add? All right. Next item on our agenda is annual appointments. Do we want to go through each appointed official first? Or take it as a whole?
I've never seen this done, so I don't know how it works.
Ms. Paulson, how is it normally done?
It just, I mean, it's been done both ways in the past. If everybody was in agreement, you could pass them all in one fell swoop, but if there's anybody that disagrees with any of them, then you need to do them separately.
Okay. Let's just go, I guess, one appointed position at a time. We'll start with our city clerk, Martha Swearingen.
We have a brief definition of, I mean, for the audience and me, what is it that the city clerk does? I mean, I've read it before, but these guys might not know what the city clerk does.
Martha, what do you do?
What do I do? I don't do events.
She does everything.
I'm the record keeper of the
She
city.
does the record keeping.
Account payable, payroll. Several other things.
So I guess we make a motion, right? I make a motion that we reappoint Martha Swearingen as the city clerk.
I got you covered. We have a second. I'll call for a roll vote.
Oh, shoot, I didn't grab them. James. Larry. Jim. Wayne. Jess. Christie.
Aye.
Martha Swearingen is reappointed our city clerk. We'll start next with our city attorney, Travis Elliott.
Would you like to hear what I do, Ms. Moore?
I think you do a fine job. It's pretty self-explanatory. You're supposed to keep us from breaking the law, right?
I am, and I represent the city at municipal court.
All right. I'll make a motion that we reappoint Travis Elliott as our city attorney.
I'll second.
call for a roll of vote.
Christie,
Aye.
James,
Aye.
Wayne, Larry,
Aye.
Jess,
Aye.
Jim.
Motion passes. Okay, our treasurer, Debbie Folsom. Debbie, I was unaware that you're our treasurer.
That's because I was given the job by default many years ago. That part of my job is just a little bitty portion. It means that I sign the checks after you and Martha do it and balance the bank statement. That's all of my job that is city treasurer.
Okay.
I make the motion to keep.
I second it.
I'll call for the vote.
Jim, Jess,
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
James,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Our fire chief, Eric Higgins.
I run the fire department.
I will make a motion that we reappoint Eric Higgins as our fire chief.
Is there a second?
I'll second
All right, I'll call for a roll of vote.
Larry,
Aye.
Jim, Jess,
Aye.
Wayne,
that. Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
James.
Aye.
Chief of Police, Sam Hartzell.
Director Police Department.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Chief Sam Hartzell as our chief of police.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, I'll call for a roll of vote.
Wayne,
Aye.
Jim,
Thanks.
James,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Jess,
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Motion passes. Collector of Revenue, Talia Nelson.
And like me, Talia has many duties that have been passed on to her. This is the part that collects the real estate taxes.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Talia Nelson as collector of revenue.
Is there a second?
Aye. I'll second.
Call for a roll of vote.
Jess,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
James,
Aye.
Jim, Wayne,
Aye.
Larry.
Yeah.
Motion passes. So, Debbie, let me clear this real quick. Employees, city employees who work here in the administrative building have political positions thrust upon them. Okay. Minutes and bills.
I have a question, is there a reason we didn't get our normal financial information that we have been getting? We didn't get the actuals for September, will we be getting those?
We can get those for you. They're not finished yet because we're still trying to close out the last fiscal year.
Okay,
Normally we don't, so if you guys would like them, I can do them for you next month, along with the new month.
I would personally like it, I just was wondering, cause it was different than the last few months.
I will do that for you.
I'll make a motion that we approve minutes and bills.
Have a question. On the transportation sales tax, I thought the surveying was all done on that job. I thought when we started it, it was all surveyed, ready for us turnkey to do. I see a bill for $1,500 to the surveyor. Thought that was a turnkey survey job, give it to us, let us build the sidewalk and go. What was the extra 1,500 for?
I guess that's a question for Jack.
That's construction statement. It was $4,000 to do the preliminary survey work, turn it over to King, and then it's $3,000 to do the construction statement from start to finish.
Wow. Answers my question. One other item. I do read this on occasion. And this is for Park Director. The trophies and shirts, $1,100 to $1,200 that the city is out, are we reimbursed for that amount of money?
On the shirts, it's, trying to figure it in a cost registration. So like softball's $30, soccer's $25, and a portion of that
So
goes.
you figure that within the income to put on the program? This is not in addition to it? Okay. I have no other questions. I'm second the motion to approve the minutes.
Call for a vote.
Wayne,
Aye.
James,
Aye.
Jim, Christie. Aye. Jess,
Aye.
Larry.
All right, minutes and bills are approved. Department head reports. Administration?
Any questions?
Yes,
These nuisance reports,
Uh-huh.
well, some of that weeds and grass,
I just had her give me a total of the nuisances. Do you want me to start detailing the nuisances that are mailed out?
I got them last month. You can give them to me later on. I chased them all, I checked all that out.
But I can get that for you. You want it every month, or you just want me to get it for you?
Every month.
Okay.
I wanna know what these nuisances are, cause I go look at every one of them. Most of the time I get there, a lot of them's already got the mess cleaned up, whatever it might be.
And that's our experience. Most of the time when we have our actual hearing, we don't have anything to be heard. Most of the time the letter causes people to get things cleaned up. It's a good thing. Debbie, I've got one observation. You've, on the budget,
Yes.
you've gone ahead and kind of divvied everything out, the unbudgeted stuff. There was $40,483 that was left for the mayor to determine what the best use was. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
The mayor didn't spend all that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So the mayor left $24,597. So the mayor came well in of that discretionary amount, is that correct?
Yes.
But the board went out and approved $60,614, is that correct?
Yeah, I can go back to the minutes. That's,
So the mayor's the conservative one out there, is that correct?
I'm not getting involved.
Anyone have any other questions for our administrator? Animal control. Lynn is on vacation. Gus, can you fill in for her?
I'll do my best. Do y'all have any questions or?
See, no question.
Well, I did good, didn't I?
Yeah, good job.
Building inspector, sir.
I don't have anything else to add to the report, if somebody has any questions about it.
We had, was it 8 new permits?
Yes.
And that's for new construction?
2 new houses, the best number we bought.
When was the last time we had permits for new construction?
For new construction. Habitat, that was a year and a half ago.
Okay. We got 2 new ones going up in Buffalo.
They're not buying no material here in Buffalo, though.
Excuse me?
They're not buying no material here in Buffalo, either.
Oh, I don't know.
We could pass a tariff.
Hmm?
We could pass a tariff. Any other questions for our building inspector? Our fire department, sir?
Any questions?
Got a couple of questions. I asked you to, oh, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, sorry. I noticed the first item is an aircraft standby. Do we go down there every time the airplane comes in?
No,
What's,
just when the medevac comes in,
when the medevac?
when the medevac comes in, the helicopter.
And they only made 2 landings in September?
At the airport.
Okay. I saw it, I was quite, I thought maybe we had an aircraft emergency there that we were standing by.
No, just when the helicopter comes in to the pad.
What about all the fires we've had, arsons? Any leads?
And the information would be fantastic.
Chief Higgins, you brought a request to the board a while back to be able to take the Durango, that's the fire chief's designated vehicle, home to your residence, and as you respond to calls ordinarily from your residents, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I guess the issue was when you respond to calls from your residents, you're using your personal vehicle to respond to those calls, is that correct?
Yes.
As opposed to having to stop by the police stations or the fire station and swap out vehicles.
Yes.
And that was the basis of that request.
Yes, sir.
At the time it was presented to the board, you were asked to gather some information regarding the number of calls that you respond from your house.
Yes.
Do you have that?
Yes.
And can you advise the board approximately how many calls during a sample?
It was the last 90 days, it was 74 times. That's after
74 calls to fires within the city of Buffalo?
it's all calls. It's all the calls.
That
Yes.
you responded from your house?
Yes.
Okay.
That's 90 days. That's out of 180, 200 calls.
How many of those calls belong to the corporate city limits of Buffalo?
All of them.
All
All of
calls?
them. Yeah, there were no mutual aid. I generally don't run mutual aids from the house.
No paramed runs, all fire department runs, or?
I mean, there's medical calls on there, but yeah, you want the, here.
No, that's all right, I'm asking you, I don't need to see anything.
I mean, there's medical calls in there, but yeah, City of Buffalo fire calls.
Do you make medical calls in the middle of the night?
Yeah. Generally, if there's no response from anybody else, yes.
Yes, you got a
If
question.
nobody goes, somebody's gotta go. So,
Well, I'm kind of surprised, I guess I'm lost, because I thought if it was a medical response within the city or within the county, that St. John's ambulance made those calls.
but we
But they
still,
don't respond and you do?
oh, they respond too, yeah. I mean, but the tone still goes out for the fire department to respond.
Okay. That's my question.
Mr. Rieschel, a question of you, did you figure out the approximate cost of, with mileage, approximate, what it would be for Mr. Higgins to take that?
As a human calculator, I figure it would be fair to go with 24 cents.
Okay.
I think the IRS 52 is ridiculous.
Did you
That's
determine?
my suggestion.
Did you determine, I guess, with your estimates that it was a de minimis cost to the city?
Well, it is.
Okay.
Well, how far out did you say you lived? 5 miles?
It's 6.
So it's a question of whatever the board's pleasure is. You can go 12 miles for the working day for 24 cents a mile, or nothing. there was some expression that this shouldn't be allowed. That's obviously another option of the board. I just personally feel like that if he's gonna make those calls, that it's not fair, not to allow him to do that,
So you're talking about $3 a day for him to take the vehicle home.
whatever he figures out.
I'm rounding up to 25 cents a mile. At 12 miles, that's $3 a day. Eric, do you sometimes get up at 2 in the morning and respond to calls?
I came here 3 times Saturday.
We have a question in the back.
Yes, sir.
As a former member of the Buffalo City Fire Department, I'm still very, not involved, but still very adamant about paying attention. A lot of things you guys don't understand is, other than Eric, Buffalo City is volunteer. We work, things come up. 7 out of 10 times on the call, Eric's usually the only one that responds, night or day. On a good day, he gets 2 or 3 firefighters to assist him. But just from being involved in it, it would be very beneficial because he carries equipment in his official vehicle that he doesn't have in his personal vehicle. And now that St. John's, used to medical calls would come out of our 911. Medics dispatched immediately. Now they gotta call St. John's. St. John's has gotta call their, it's delayed response 5 to 7 minutes for an ambulance. So I really think it would be beneficial to the city for him to have what he needs. That's all I gotta say.
If he doesn't have, if he takes his personal vehicle, does that mean he has to come into the city to get the city vehicle and then go respond?
Yes.
To me, that would be a delayed response, and it could cause a fatality in the amount of time that's gonna cost.
Eric, the alternative is I think Eric's taking his personal vehicle to the call most of the time instead of stopping by the fire station.
Does that mean his personal car has all the supplies that the city vehicle has also?
No. Eric, if the city were to allow you to take the Durango home, would you promise the board you wouldn't take it to Springfield to go see a movie on?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that we allow Eric to use the vehicle for the purpose that he said he needs to use it for. I mean, that's an extension of his job. He has to wake up in the middle of the night and respond to those calls, and he has to have the tools that he needs to do it. So I think we should allow it. And it has also
What
not.
about the people that's coming up from the city, Rogers people, they won't take his vehicle off him. What about on patrols, he won't take her truck home with her, she gets in the middle of the night, sometimes go get his dog, so. I keep up to live 6 miles out there in the brush.
I don't necessarily think that their jobs are the same as what Eric does.
I had that job 7 years, I know all about it. Nobody paid me to drive anywhere, I drove my own.
Mr. Chair, point of order, we're really not to the issue of discussion yet. I will make a second to the motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, I guess.
I think you're setting precedence on this thing.
Chrissy, can you clarify your motion for us?
I think that he should be allowed to use it as an extension of his job, and that we should not require him to pay or reimburse the city. We have not paid or reimbursed him for any mileage that he has used his personal vehicle for. I just think this should be an extension of, I mean, when he goes home, he has it there ready to use. I mean, is that what you're asking, that he pay the city?
Well, that was a notion we talked about a while ago.
That's not included in my motion.
And with that clarification, does your
Sorry.
second still stand? Okay. Now we can have discussion.
Okay.
Sam,
I'm gonna discuss my part.
where do you live?
I live at 807 South Chestnut.
You take the police car home?
No, I don't want to.
How do you respond at night?
Personal vehicle, because I don't have room, 'cause I don't want to park the street.
Just asking,
I don't want to park the street.
I wasn't sure exactly where you live.
I mean, I would. I mean, I don't have anything wrong with it, but I just want a parking space.
Sam, do you typically respond to emergencies in the night, or does our on-duty officers typically?
The officer does. I'm mostly the back of it.
Any further discussion? I'll call for a vote.
Jess,
Aye.
James,
No.
Jim, Wayne,
Aye.
Larry,
No.
Christie.
Aye.
That motion passes. Any other questions for our fire department? All right, park department, Mr. Hurd.
I don't really want to add, I got all the dodgeball closed out in the last week, today.
So we're doing dodgeball.
We're doing dodgeball, I've already had a few kids that I've seen in soccer and everything to come up. I got my dodgeball team already ready to turn in, so I'm pretty excited about it.
And as a matter of public policy, we decided to have dodgeball.
I mean, there's a lot of kids that really want to do it.
Good. Any questions of our park director?
How's the concession stand working out?
Great. We've had a lot of compliments on it. Very well.
I had a woman come up to me and said this is the first time she's went to the bathroom since she's.
I've had the same thing.
Are you making arrangements for the restrooms to be open in the
Yes,
evening?
that's already been arranged. I unlock them before I leave, around 4 o'clock, and then when the police officers go by at dark and lock them up. That way during soccer season, so they can have.
Well,
a
there's
good walk around.
practices about every night down
Yeah.
there.
That was arranged last week.
Yes, sir.
For this golf course up there, in Springfield, they got them there in parts of the parks for kids to go out and. Could you put a disc golf course anywhere in our park system?
There's room for them, yes.
There is?
Mhm.
They're not that expensive, but there's not a whole lot to them.
And we'd probably be able to get Roger to weld something together and Roger, you gotta have something to do with the snow.
on this.
Something to do with the snow
Just do
supply.
what you tell me to.
There's only so many picnic tables we can make.
I know, you need to make some more. Over seal bad.
They go wild over it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't see much fun in it myself, because I can't run.
Well, I don't think golf requires running, Wayne, do you?
No, it doesn't.
You run?
This
No.
dog, part you throw it and
What you say, no?
You have to do a lot of moving. I don't know how it's.
then you got to go chase it down.
Wayne runs when Jess beats him on the golf course.
And those kids do run when they're playing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's something that low cost, take care of one of the things there, and it would be used.
Okay. Well, Bobby, could you look into some numbers on that?
Yeah, I have a lot of numbers. There's one out the middle school already.
Oh, is there?
Yeah,
Okay.
put up. They run, for just the, I guess to do the whole, they're about $200 piece, and for an 18-hole course.
I mean, the holder's not a complicated piece of equipment, is it?
You know, the metal and chains.
You think Roger could weld something like that?
They can get close, I'm sure. They're talented.
Bobby, it's been brought to my attention that we have 4 big dumpsters in the parks, is that right? Roger, where's our big dumpsters?
There's one at the new building, one down the old park, two at the new park.
Yeah, 2 of 3.
It's been brought that it would be nice if we could enclose 3 sides of those, set them on a concrete pad so that they'd be easier moved, located, and kind of out of sight to make the park look nicer and be able to put the dumpsters back in there. What's your thought on it?
I think it'd be great. I know, it's been a couple weeks ago, me and Roger talked, something like that, and he thought it'd be a good idea. I think it'd be great to enclose them. You know, I guess we'd want to check with the trash company, make sure they could back in there, put them in a spot, easy for him to get to, but I think that would be great, make it look a little nicer down there. And maybe help some people that dump down there, because I know that's probably a little bit of a problem. It's not a huge problem, but
I think it would enhance the looks of the park.
Okay,
We need to, maybe next meeting,
look at our budget. and
look
see.
at the budget and ask Roger to give us a cost on
I think it'd be $1,200-$1,400 roughly. I got 3 or 5 yards of concrete and then the board that goes around it, and I think it's roughly $1,200-$1,400 to build
for all of them.
all 4 of them. But it's still, I kinda might get Jimmy at the bathrooms, same stuff. Just pour a pad, and I already talked to Trash gentleman, he said that, you know, he did, just make everything look a lot nicer. So the first thing you see, you go down to the park, see that old green trash can sitting out, everybody sees it first.
It would look a lot nicer.
Do we have any people that use our dumpsters?
They're not supposed to, I mean, it's
No,
supposed to
but
be.
I didn't, that wasn't when I asked.
Right.
Do they?
I think so, I mean, they seem to be always full when I fill trash in there.
People come by rather than to pay a trash man, they let us know. I thought so. Well, I think that's something we need to look at the next meeting to see if we can get those done by spring, so that park will look nicer.
Any other questions for our park director? Yes, ma'am.
Is there any plan to improve the soccer fields themselves or the puddles that acquire in front of the picnic tables and the stands?
Yeah, we're gonna have Roger do that.
How many loads of dirt do you need, Roger?
I don't know, bunch, we put a bunch on, we've done a lot to it.
I was gonna say, we just redid the soccer
We can get grass
fields.
growing.
'Cause they're pretty lumpy.
And I think that's one of those things, every year that goes by, they tend to get a little more TLC and get a little bit better and better. I can tell you the parking lot, the goal is to put what's called a slope curb that runs along where the ditch used to be, along the northern side of Autoscope. And that's gonna create a whole bunch more parking spaces. And I believe next summer the goal is to blacktop all that, stripe it. And that'll be a world-class area of Buffalo.
I know the kids enjoy running and sliding into the puddles.
Well, there's no extra charge for that. As time goes on, yeah, we can make those improvements. I know we used to have that gaudy orange barricade along the east side to keep the balls from rolling off in the creek. And Mr. Hurd has acquired a new mesh material that's a little more attractive than the old orange plastic barricades. So little things, one piece at a time, it'll keep getting. Engineer would be given the job of engineering that project. The state has decided that that's no longer a good idea, that should be a separate cost. We discussed this the last time, and what would be a reasonable cost? Well, $1 probably wouldn't cut it. So Mr. Coulter has proposed to charge the city of Buffalo $600 to draft that application for the grant. This would be a grant for what could possibly be the green space trail. And I'll ask King to explain that project briefly. I will state that, Debbie, you have written grants in the past, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And could you explain to the board, I guess, a little bit of the advantage of having an engineer?
If they know what they're doing, I mean, I have to start from ground level and learn everything about the grant, and so it can be pretty time consuming depending on the grant. I'm assuming with this being, what is it, MoDOT?
Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty extensive, the times that I wrote the sidewalk grant, there was a lot of time involved in it.
And I guess, in essence, this is what you do for a living, sir? Kind of.
Leads to it, yes.
Okay.
What you have in your hands isn't related to the grant. It's just the information I told you I would bring you last time regarding the cost on the stormwater and trail segment by segment. So if you look at those pieces, each block will tell you where it goes to and from and how much the estimated construction cost is for each of those segment pieces. As far as the grant goes, the grant is a Federal Highway Administration Transportation Enhancement Grant. They're an 80-20 grant, which means for every dollar you put up to match, the federal government puts up $4. There's a maximum the federal government will participate. If you want to cause them to spend the maximum they will spend per project, the city would have to come up with $75,000, and the federal government would come up with $300,000. So it leverages your dollars quite a bit and turns them from $1 to $4. It's a competitive situation. You're in a region where you'll be competing with other towns and the counties out there. So the better the grant is written, the better chance you have of being awarded a grant. There's no guarantees that you're awarded a grant. And right now we're in the process of writing grants for several communities out there that are, some are not in your region. Well, most of them are not in your region. Stratford is in the Springfield region. Cassville's in the southwest region away from you, so this is what leads in, and part of the most detailed part of it is the grant, when it is awarded, there is no more dollars. So if they award you $100,000 and your project costs $150,000, you're out $50,000 extra dollars. And that's the key to having a grant written by somebody that has an idea of what the costs are actually going to be. There was a grant written for a school in southwest Missouri that was written by a person that wasn't too familiar with construction costs and methods, and the grant had to be sent back to the federal government because it was nowhere near what it was going to cost, and the school district couldn't afford it. So it is important that you get accurate numbers put into this thing if you're going to apply for them. You also need to know what you want to build so that we know what to write the application for, because the application is specific to a project. So if you're looking to extend Locust Street, it needs to be written for that. If you're looking to start on your stormwater trails, it needs to be written for that. If you're looking to put work into around the square, it'll have to be written specifically for that. So, but the deadline is November 5th, so it's not very far away. And there is a bit of work to do to get one put together. So,
how much grant money is available?
In our this area, the southern portion is 1.5 or 2 million, somewhere in that range.
Is there a percentage in the grant for administrative?
Is there a percentage in the grant for administrative? No.
There's nothing in it to manage the grant whatsoever, it's just pure construction?
There's construction inspection money, there's design money, and that's it. It does require that someone from the city has to attend MoDOT's training in administering these grants. Whoever you select to design the project, if you're awarded, it's also key to make sure that they will help you administer the grant, because if they don't, it's a massive amount of paperwork.
This 563 is for construction, is that right? For the trailway, not including your fees or any other fees. And this is based upon all land to be given?
Yes, donated, yes.
So if someone down through there does not grant us the right of way to put this, then we have to condemn it?
No, not necessarily. I mean, if they weren't in the mood to give you a portion of the land, you could go to them and see if there's a purchase amount that's agreeable to them and you all.
But the purchase amount would be our amount. It's not built into the grant.
It's not, these aren't grant numbers, Mr. Stafford, these are just the construction cost numbers that go in. If you applied this as a grant and you needed to acquire some property, that would be something that could be put into there. But obviously this, a grant wouldn't cover this whole cost. So you would break this out into a portion and choose segments to build. And in those segments, if you had thought that you were going to need to acquire right away, you'd want to account for that cost in it as well.
So for these 5 projects, are you writing 5 different grants or one grant?
No, this was just the study that we did.
Right.
This was just the information to give you the final results of that study. As far as the grant, whatever grant that you all tell us that you want to apply for, that would be the one that we would apply for. And so you wouldn't necessarily apply for the whole trail itself if that's what you chose to do, because it's larger than what one grant will pay for. You can apply for more than one grant, but more than likely you would only get one grant unless they didn't have enough people apply.
Well, what I'm asking you for here, I mean, not a question, $600 is not high to write a grant. My question is what you're asking to get the grant for.
Right, and that's my question to you all, is what, there's voted things on the wall here, and there's things that the council would prefer to do. That's what I need the direction of, is what do you want us to write the grant for?
So you're saying we actually cannot ask for the entire amount?
No.
A grant for all of it?
Right.
Okay.
The grant is up to 300,000.
Right.
And we would have to match that, not 20%. Be 20%.
That's 60,000.
So that's,
So
Right.
how do you pick and choose?
it's my opinion that we look at the, what I have is a green space trail, but perhaps better characterized as a stormwater management system with an ancillary trail. That is the project I believe we should apply the grant for. It's just what, I guess the question is what phase of that project?
And am I correct in saying that this grant could also cover the downtown project, which is what, at the town hall, the people in the city said that they wanted to do? Is that correct?
It could be what.
Could it cover any of those 5 projects, or would it only specifically cover?
It won't cover a dog pound.
But it would cover the others.
The monies could be spent on the trail, Locust, or the downtown.
Because it's a MoDOT transportation.
Right. It has to be related to in regard of something that moves people around.
Okay. So if we approved that for you to write that grant, how do we know, like, how would I know what's in this? Like, don't they sometimes have rules, stipulations, we're gonna give you this money, but you can't do such and such, or you have to do this? Do they do?
They always have rules.
They always have
And
rules.
that's why someone,
Yeah.
in order for the city to even be able to turn in an application, a person from the city, employee from the city, or an elected official has to attend a 4-hour MoDOT
Okay.
class prior to your being approved.
Because I wouldn't want to agree to something that maybe we did get some citizens to donate part of their land, but then they unknowingly agreed to not be able to use their land for certain things because this grant would say that they couldn't. I mean.
No, that's an easement.
Okay.
The easement that you would ask people for would allow them to continue to have the land, but it would allow you to place and maintain a trail and stormwater improvements across that.
So is there a way that we could look at this grant and what rules and restrictions they might have before we agreed to let you write?
Sure.
Because I didn't know we were doing this tonight,
Yep.
so I would like to look it up.
MoDOT's website and look under LPA Transportation Enhancement Application. or if you give me your email, I'll email you.
I'll do
the
that.
application.
It's a lot of long words to have to write
Yes,
really
it is.
fast. I'll do that.
So,
Okay.
I'll email that to you, and you can read the whole
Okay.
deal.
I've never been really, really high on the green space,
Mhm.
but in your experience and realistically, isn't that the project that is by far more apt to get approved by MoDOT than the others?
It would be a good one, like I said, I think that, the Locust Street extension or the trail or, even we have, Aurora Square being constructed right now, just starting under this program. So they do allow for things that are related to that, but
So
it's
there's no-
easy to write a grant that says that you're gonna move people on bicycle and footpath from their houses to schools, to parks, to everything. There's a long checklist that you'll see when you read the grant and the scoring sheet of, they mark, and you get so many points for each item. And this one, the trail definitely hits on all those points.
And now the green space trail is, I guess, the most developed notion we have, is that correct? The one we have the most data for in order to put into our grant application?
I mean, you could use Locust Street, we have, cost information on it. We haven't done a square estimate or anything like that yet, but could if that's what you all decide to do.
I would like to make a motion that we table this so that we could inform ourselves a little more about what this grant is before we just give him approval to write it.
Well, here's the problem, we have a deadline coming
We
up.
could have put it on the agenda. I mean, I would have looked it up and been ready, but I didn't know. It just says
When's
King
the
Culture.
deadline?
November.
November 5th?
Well-
So this is something that you're probably gonna need to get started on right away.
You will not want to wait too long.
And
When's your next meeting?
How much have we paid you already to look into the waterway there?
The waterway, we did the sizing and the calculations for the stormwater conveyance, I think about $7,000, $7,200.
So the district's already paid you $7,200 to look into the matter? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could we take a straw poll of the council?
Sure.
On the various projects to see which projects, if any, they like?
Do I get to vote too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure.
I mean, I'm in a position to make the motion to apply for the grant because of the time constraints. But, I mean, I wanna know where the council is thinking, if any.
And I just wanna say that this isn't a project that's gonna put the sole purpose is gonna put a trail in. I think King might wanna educate us a little bit about what we're wanting to do, so there's not a misconception there.
This piece that would improve your stormwater drainage, would clear out the channels that are all too small to convey the stormwater that comes from downtown and heads north through town. So it would be widening those and opening them up. We did have an Army Corps of Engineers permit to work through their waterway and open that all up. And as a side benefit, as going along, you would cut a ledge alongside of it for the trail to go on. But it uses these dollars, or would use these dollars to drain the city, the downtown portion of town.
And it'll also shore up deficiencies at the intersection of Mill and Hickory, is that correct?
Right.
I think you had a question over here. Sorry.
Which one of them's gonna put the sidewalks along Hickory Street in, down to the new park?
This would kind of do that.
No,
None
which
of
one's
these
gonna do it?
projects
You
are.
said one of them would put the,
It'll create a trail along the creek along Hickory.
So go back behind people's houses. So have you figured in the cost for the bathrooms and the maintenance of the bathrooms on the Predator Trail you're putting through?
Well, no, we'd ban predators.
No, you can't. It's public. So you have a little problem, and if you don't believe me, go ask Mr. Elliott over in Baldwin. what kind of a mess he had.
I got a friend too that, they put a trail in it, went behind their house, and pictures of his wife sunbathing, and that's where they didn't want it.
Okay.
You know, there's other things to look at too than just have a trail.
No, I understand it, and I could testify to everyone, when I moved back to Missouri from Arkansas, after I practiced law in Arkansas for a little while and was studying for the Missouri Bar, I established residence in my father's basement in southwest Springfield. And adjacent to his house was a green space trail. It had a nice little creek walking across it. And at that point in my life, I was probably the healthiest I've ever been, and I would take advantage of that. You would picture me as a jogger, but there was a point in my life where I could get out there and jog as long and far as I wanted to without falling over of a heart attack. And I say jog, I'm not talking about a flat-out run, but I was able to get out and jog and just really enjoy the environment there. That's something that Springfield has promoted, and I don't know of anyone who ever pouted and said, this is a horrible idea in Springfield. It's a huge success there, and I think it could be a huge success here, and it would also add to our property values, and it would also add to the aesthetics of our community. It would also add to the healthy lifestyle goals of our community. It would also add to the storm drainage issues that we have in our community. We have a question back here.
Can we not have, local police at night check the trail?
Sure we could.
I mean, you're paying for the safety to keep the city safe. I mean, if you've got people that are walking down the trail in the middle of the night causing issues, I mean, I would think the police would be taking care of that.
And we probably need to hire 4 new police officers because there might be people skateboarding on that trail. We can't have that. I'm being facetious. I think we all see the benefits that are here.
If people really wanted to jog, they could do it now. We don't have your little trail now. There are places to jog. They could be healthy if they wanted to be, without running a trail through somebody's backyard that really might not like it there.
At the new park, at the park down here, and there's a place around it, where people walk and could jog if they wanted to.
Yeah, but there could be predators out there.
Yes, there could.
We want something safer that runs along Hickory Street.
That would be safer over there than anywhere else.
Yeah.
But, no, that's just, I like that. And we got the other park down here that we can fix something down there too. Probably needs to be there anyway.
I would really like the chance to look at the grant for myself before I voted to, approve it. I mean, I haven't seen it at all, so I don't think that anybody else has. And it might have something in there that we don't want to agree to. If we just agree to.
King, is there gonna be anything in there we wouldn't agree to? Is there anything disagreeable about free money?
I don't think that he can answer that question. I think I would be the one that would answer that question for myself.
Right, and you know, all I can tell you is that Springfield applies for them, Stratford applies for them, Ozark applies for them, Nixa applies for them, Aurora applies for them, name a city, they apply for them.
If hypothetically we applied for the grant and we were awarded the grant and we saw some clause in there that said we had to wear blue hats on Sunday, we could turn down that grant, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess I don't understand. I get confused. I was just talking about Main Street to Mill Street, and that Mill Street's garbage. Just talking about those two areas. Would that need to be just one grant?
Yes.
What you gotta remember, gentlemen, is that we give this gentleman $10,000 to sign this program. Council voted on it, and we give him the authority. And Keene has come back with 5 different phases of that money that we give him to draw it up with. Now, we're sitting here, and we know that the main problem of all of this is the Mill Street and Hickory. Because that's where the water problem is, that's where the overflow is, and that's what's gotta be fixed one way or the other if we're gonna continue to go forward.
That's why I asked about those two areas.
So if we tell him to make the grant on the Mill Street to the park and the Main Street to Mill Street, this is done. This grant can be written because he knows what he's talking about. He can't write a grant on the city square until that's surveyed, engineered, and worked out, which could possibly do January of 10,000, who knows? This is ready to go. This thing is almost shovel ready. So if we're gonna apply for a grant, let's apply for a grant with the knowledge that we've got, because he has it, we've paid for it. Give him $600, write the letter, let's see what we come up with. If we get a part of it, we know that a part of it's gotta be fixed before anything else. It's a problem, we can't even keep a street down there.
Is there a motion?
I believe I made a motion to table it until we had a chance to look at the grant.
Is there a second to that motion to table it? That motion fails for lack of a second.
I make a motion that we authorize King to apply for the grant on the Main Street to Mill Street and Mill Street to the park.
Second.
But
I,
no.
I think what we need to do is just to approve the agreement with King to prepare the application for the grant, and everybody can have their input about what that consists of.
He just asked us what part of this he wanted us to make a grant for.
And I think you can tell them
No,
all you want to.
I think the question was, which one of those 5 stated projects do we need to apply for? The green space, or this proposal is for the project, and then we can do the first phase of it, and then the second phase later, is that correct? Or do we need to get specific?
Well, where they're headed to is where you're eventually gonna have to head to.
Okay.
You're gonna have to decide budgetary wise, you know, do you wanna put in more than what the grant does to go farther than that segment, or do you wanna hold it down to what the grant covers by itself?
Okay, so the focus of the grant would be the Mill Street, Hickory Street intersection.
Yes, Main Street to Mill Street, because there's not a project for the Hickory Mill Street by itself. It either comes from Main Street to Mill, and if we get that done, because that's the major problem with our water flow in our street. That's the worst area we have for water flow. That's where everything overflows, it's where we've dumped 20 million yards of concrete, and we can't get it straightened out.
So the Main Street to Mill Street and the Mill Street Park,
That would take care of our Hickory Street.
and that would get us in the $300-something thousand range.
Right.
Okay.
So let's
Is that the brunt of your motion?
Yes, that is my motion.
Okay, and
Yeah,
Mr.
those two
Riechel
projects.
seconded that. I'll call for a vote.
Larry,
Aye.
Christie,
No.
James, Jess,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Wayne.
Aye.
That motion passes.
Good luck.
All right, used truck bids. We put an ad in the paper for a used truck. We did not get a bid. We do have a truck here that 2002 Chevy pickup, and there's a notion of $6,000, and that may or may not be a good deal. We did discuss whether or not we should purchase a truck, decided to solicit bids, and we don't have any bids, so we have nothing to consider today. That takes care of that.
So we can't approve to purchase a truck when we didn't get any bids?
If you wanna make an offer to purchase it, I think we can do that, because nobody responded.
But they didn't solicit a bid.
Well, I think if someone wants to, they can make a motion to purchase that vehicle after they are to receive the bid.
Okay.
If that's what the council wants to do.
Is that the truck that you want?
That was the one that I first brought to you guys,
Yes.
and you didn't want to get it. So it's just up to you. It's better than what I got.
And this is
The
the
one you have is pretty bad.
the 2002 Chevy pickup. 3/4 ton, 4x4, 147,000 miles, utility bed. Looked like it's in good condition, drove good, you have good wrench tires, 40 to 50%. Was that the one that had the tick to it?
Yes.
That's it.
And I explained what Chevrolet was an acronym for.
Right.
Okay. And
I mean, I think we came to
Uh,
the conclusion that you needed a truck and that there was money within your budget to purchase one. Would you like to look longer and see if you can find something better, or?
It may not be there. We need to even find out if it's still there or not.
I guess my suggestion would be, and I don't have a vote on this board unless there's a tie, my suggestion would be that if we're gonna buy something, we spend a little bit of time looking, see what's out there, what values there are, look at government surplus, and see what's out there. Does anyone want to present a motion to purchase this vehicle? I see no motion. I will move on to new business. Lee, will you present to the board what you've been doing and
That's kind of the final drawing. I've done all the preliminary drawings for water and sewer both. Had to do that, so when I'm out in the field, I'm not just going blind, trying to find everything and know approximately where everything's at. And I've got from McCowan to Mill, Locust, Hickory so far. And other than having to do those drawings, I had to stop surveying. And I just, plan to keep going on it until, have to bring some more drawings later on for another update.
Roger, have you looked at these?
Yeah, yeah, Lee showed them to me the other day. I've been with him on, showing him where some of the stuff, so everything I think's good on so far.
Is this a set of plans that the sewer and water department and the street department could work with?
Well, I'm sure, I'm sure they are.
Compared to what we had
Exactly.
almost nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are hydrants on those?
You can use them for planning purposes, if there's any gonna be new construction, any type of digging, you know exactly where the water and sewer lines
Rails
are
in the park in the manhole.
into the roads.
How much longer will you be, Lee?
That's kinda hard to determine. The GPS, at times, it's hard to get shots sometimes under trees and all that, so some shots take a little bit. But, I'd probably say maybe 6 more months, probably the survey and drawing part.
Has it gone about the way that you thought it was when we hired you to do this job? Or is it taking longer?
No, doing the preliminary drawings was kind of a mess, because some of the information, like the water lines, I had to start out with the 1970 plans and get all the drawings that used to be in the corner wall there. I had to go piece by piece, look at every one of them to see which applied, and Roger was kind of working with me on that. Some of the drawings, some of the projects never got done, or only partial were done. So it was a little bit tedious to go through the water and sewer just to get preliminary drawings. But the surveying is going very well. And I just gave you those so you can look at it. If you guys, if you have any suggestions, that you don't like the way something looks. I've got to put a legend on the drawing. I didn't have time to put the legend on and tell what those symbols are. But
Are you finding anything that we didn't have?
some of the manholes so far that I've found, and I talked to Roger about one earlier. I pulled one of the lids and there's a line going up, but I didn't find a manhole that the line was running to. So either some may be buried under asphalt. but I can only pretty much spot what I can physically find. So when I have a question, I'll either, I'll ask Roger or Gus. When I have a problem and I can't find, something that the older plans say exists, I'll have to ask them.
Are there any more questions?
I just wanted council, I asked for your comment because I wanted the council to know what he's doing, where he's at with the program. We haven't talked to him since we hired him. And we need to look and see if it's going where we want it to be. And having a set of plans for these is going to be a great asset to the town that we haven't had before. Some things we have to be able to find.
Any more questions? All right, that's all we have on our agenda for today.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Yeah. I'll call for the vote.
James. Larry.